So yeah. individualism. We are blessed to have Paula Nicole and myself as the chairperson. So without much further ado, I would like to present to you Seminarian Tang Hong Group.
Lord Jesus, teach me to be generous. Teach me to serve in ways to deserve, to give and not to guard the cross, to fight and not to heal the wounds, to go and not to seek for rest, to labor and not to seek reward. Accept that, acknowledge that I do your will. Amen. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Today I will present my thesis in the title, Confucius' Notion of Brain, Working Out of Individualism. In what I have presented in my paper, the individualism has been always existing in our society in many forms, especially in the modern time. So it can be understood positively as having freedom to choose what they want and the responsibility with their choosing. Or in the negatively, in case of separating themselves from the society and not caring for others. Therefore, the individualism becomes a problem that we need to concern. So in this paper, researcher wants to point out the development of individualism, and he wants to use Confucius' notion of brain to help individuals breaking out of individualism. The main concern of this study is how can Confucius' notion of Confucius then enable individual to break out of individualism. To answer this question, researcher formulates the following questions. The first one, how individualism in the modern world. The second is, how can we understand Confucius' notion of brain? The last one is, how can Confucius then enable the individual to break out of individualism? For the conceptual framework, the red circle represents Confucius' notion of brain. The blue circle represents the person who follows individualism, and the red arrows represent the Confucius notion of brain break out of individualism. For chapter 3, in chapter 3, researcher tries to explain philosophical problem presented by both Thesis and Francis about secularism and individualism. But in the chapter 2, researcher just want to focus more about the individualism because the secularism is just a foundation for researcher to reach the individualism only. That's why the main concept in the chapter to what is the individualism. So that's why in the end, researchers try to solve the problem only in the individualism, not to solve the problem in the secularism. So about the secularism in observation of both system, there are so many developments in the secularism, but in this presentation, researcher just wants to point out one problem, that is separating religion from state. So people think that because of religion, they are not allowed to do what they want, such as divorce, abortion, or same-sex marriage. Therefore, they just want to separate religion and state. And for the Buddhists, one of the consequences of secularism is appearance of individualism. About the individualism in observation of God, Francis, the individualism becomes a problem in today's society because the people who follow individualism just think about themselves and different to others. For example, in the time of pandemic, many rich people or the people who have the power, they have more time to get vaccinated. The poor people are the one who are more or less, they don't have much chance, it's going to die. But also there are some people who die not because of the virus, but because of the self-interest and indifference of some people. So the poor and elderly are the victim as the food or other available objects are foreign or ways cannot be given to them. So in this problem, what Francis called that is throwaway future. So, for example, we can see that problem in the time of pandemic, especially when lockdown time. So when the government said that the government will lock down 1 month in one country and one place, and no one are allowed to go out. And because of that, many people may start to buy nothing that they need in 1 month. But after that, after 1 month, they cannot consume what they bought. Therefore, they throw it away. While many people also in that time they don't have that food to use. So it happens in many ways. So this aspect can be considered as luxury and selfishness. And because of that, the people who separate themselves from others, these are the problem of individualism in the modern times, in the observation of the book Francis. For the chapter 3, so researcher explains 5 virtues of Confucius, but actually researchers want to emphasize the virtue rain, because the rain is the main virtue, not literal other virtue. So that's why researchers just want to go over the 4 virtues, that is yielding, to, and see, because they are the virtue that connect or support the virtue of rain. About the virtue of rain, so rain can be understood as consciousness of human order, and it is a primary principle of human action. This consciousness allows us to act in particular conduct. For example, when I am alone at my house, I can sing or do whatever I want. I can make noise. I sing loud. But when I'm conscious that my mother is sleeping, that's another. So I know that I need to stop singing because I know that my mom is sleeping. To act according to them, Confucius gives us the golden rule, which is do unto others what you want others to do unto you. It means to say that we always want others to be good to us, therefore we need to do good to others. For the second word, so that is he, which means taking our responsibility. So for Confucius, we start to carry the duties when we will old. And this duty must be rooted in them. It means that when I am aware of something, I have the responsibilities to act. For example, when I am realize that my mother is old and she cannot walk anymore, so my duty is to help her and let her rest and take care of her. That is the duty of a son. And so for Confucius, we have not only one responsibility, but we have many responsibilities which we have seen in the 5 relations. It means husband and wife, parent and child, older and younger sibling, friend and friend, ruler and subject. According to Confucius, in these relations, they are not equal, but for him. In these relations, the superior character has the responsibility to care for the younger one. It means to say that in 5 relations, it's not equal for all, but if what we want to have more superior character, that person will have a responsibility for the younger one. For example, in the relationship between friend and friend, because I am an older and I have more experience than my younger brother. Therefore, I have the responsibility to help or remind my brothers when they do something wrong. That is my duty as older brother. And another word to which is rooted from them is lead. It means right conduct and propriety. For example, when we know that my father is at home, for example, I know that my father is not at home, so I will do what I want. But if I realize that my father is at home, so therefore I need to behave. You need to look outside. That is the word lead. And another word to that Confucius called team. It means acknowledge or wisdom. It is also rooted from them. For example, in the community, if I am a person who is capable in studying well, and I realize that some of my brothers are not capable to study well. And in this case, I have a responsibility to help them by knowledge. And the last word to that is see. It means just sporting or keeping bonus. For Confucius, one is not only be aware of the presence of others, but also be faithful to what he said. For example, I know that the mother of my friend is sick and he has the money to buy medicine for his mother. And he comes to me and asks me for help. And I said I will help him. But I don't have that with. And because of that one, my friend doesn't trust me anymore. So because of that, the virtual scene is very important in relationships. And those are the virtual which connect to the virtual of brains. The four virtuals, they are connected to brain. They are from brain and brains to brain virtual. So in chapter 4, the section 1 to the same 2 points to respond to the problem individualism. The first point is the responsibilities of the individual is order. It is not wrong for one to follow the interest, but we know that we are not alone in this world. But we live in order. Therefore, we need to have a responsibility to others or care for others. For example, in the example of their language, the rich people they need to have a responsibility to care for the poor people. Because for Confucius, the superior people who are rich or the powerful must have the responsibility to the inferior people. So in every situation, the one who higher position or higher power is the one who has the responsibility for the lower one. For the second point, is the social being of the individual. The view of Confucius, while the social being, the only way we are relate it to one another. When one isolates oneself, it means that one has one level of himself. Because for Confucius, the nature of a healthy state of human is in social structure. Therefore, I always with its order within himself. For the chapter 5 of Confucius. This is a consideration of both policies in modern time. The people who allow individuals who follow individualism focus on themselves and forget others. Believe and talk that and the person not later. But Francis considers individualism as a kind of virus that can kill anyone, and it is difficult to eliminate. This virus makes people insensitive to the pain of others. We can understand there as conscious of human others, loving others as we love ourselves. When we love, care, and have a responsibility for ourselves, we need to love and care and have a responsibility for others. There's nothing wrong when we love ourselves and resource our interest. But some people they follow the individualism, they focus on themselves and forget others. When we want to develop ourselves, we need to care and help for others. Because Confucius said that he seeks to start with himself, seeks also to start with others. He seeks to enlarge himself, he seeks also to enlarge others. So it is what we said to one to himself. Thank you for the listening.
Thank you very much for that presentation. So we will go directly to questions and systematic scrutiny of your work by our main panelists, Professor Paul.
So first and foremost, congratulations for coming through the process of thesis writing. You were able to meet the deadline and was able to come out with this thesis. Okay. Therefore, I would like to commend your work on chapter 3, representation of Confucius or the Confucian thoughts. I really enjoyed it because it's very brief but concise. It's concise in the sense that all the things that you wanted to talk about, you were able to talk about it, but in a very simpler way. Okay, so that's a good one. All right. So for the technicals, or technicalities, there are so many things that I put in the manuscript, which you will be getting na lang, the soft copy of it. Because there are some parts of your thesis that I think, I'm not sure if it's because of you saving it in a Word file rather than a PDF, that some of the parts of your thesis is kind of missing. May mga missing parts. Like, you ended the one sentence with, in order. In order to what? So that's unclear, you know? So you have to revisit that. And then, for this one is something that I've seen early on, no? And it somehow bothers me because some parts of your thesis, you mention the names Pope Benedict XVI and Pope Francis. And then on the latter part of your thesis, you just use Benedict XVI, Francis. So, siguro, for formality's sake and also for consistency's sake, choose one. Would you refer them as popes or would you just call them by their names? Okay? So, hindi naman siya problem. It's not really a problem because in philosophy, we call St. Thomas as Thomas Aquinas said, and ganyan. So, it's acceptable. But for consistency's sake, choose a method of naming them or writing their names. Okay? And then I am quite surprised to read your thesis because it seems that every sentences are cited. It's like every sentences were cited. That's good because you want to not commit plagiarism, right? However, I am looking for your idea. I am looking for your explanation of these things because I think you have for this one, yung sa individual, sa most parts of your thesis is like that, no? It lacks your voice. It's lacking of your voice. Okay, so siguro you can work on that to somehow claim this your thesis as your own in a sense that I have my input on this one. Not just a conglomeration of cited works. Okay? And then your definition of individualism. When we go to your definition of terms, you define individualism according to is that basta you define it in such a manner na I'm not really sure if it's kind of very philosophical, no? Because as I've mentioned, individualism has a very broad philosophical definition. It has many aspects. Individualism has many aspects. Okay, so siguro it's best or it will be best if you will zero in into one definition of individualism, which is philosophical. Okay, and coming from that observation, I would just like to ask you because in your discussion of individualism in chapter 2, diba? It's your presentation of your philosophical problem. You presented individualism using the works of the popes, right? So parang medyo ano ko dun, it kind of bothered me. Although I get it naman that individualism, your discussion of individualism is good. However, in my point of view or in my perspective, it's lacking that philosophical traction. Meaning the kind of foundation, philosophical foundation. Because you are looking at individualism from the eyes of the church, from the eyes of the from the point of view of religion. Okay, so somehow it's kind of problematic because when we talk of individualism in philosophy or philosophically, you can think of individualism political, socially. I guess what you're trying to show here is individualism in the social aspect. However, as I've mentioned, it's lacking that philosophical traction. So I guess you should try to look for some philosophical ideas on the problem of individualism in the society. Okay? Madami yan. Sino ba yung pinaka-pwede natin sabihin? Sige, I think it's here. I put here so you can check na lang my comments on your manuscript. Alright, so that's it for the technicals, no? And then, yeah, for the questions, sige. Your chapter 3 and your chapter 4 is good. However, your chapter 4 somehow is, I feel like it's lacking. Medyo bitin. It's how they call this. It feels like incomplete. When you read again your chapter 4, you can see here that parang it's just pure analysis na lang. And then I think, I also wrote here in the comment no, na parang, why do you keep on giving examples during the pandemic, individualism during this pandemic or whatnot, when in fact individualism, even without the pandemic, is still relevant or is still persisting. So maybe to make your thesis, how do you call this, more relevant in a sense, to not focus too much on the pandemic. Okay, so that's it. For the question, actually I only have 2 questions. Okay, the first question is, you have defined the problem of individualism from the perspective of the church, the Western church, right? How did you come up with the idea that an Eastern philosophical notion could solve or could break out this problem of individualism? How did you come up with an idea that an Eastern thought, Confucian notion of men, could help you break out or could help you solve the problem of a Western notion of individualism? Because in your thesis, you define individualism from the perspective of the church. Western church, Eastern concept, Confucian concept. And you all know naman, diba, that there is a divide, somehow a divide between the Eastern thought and the Western thoughts. So how did you come up to that kind of connection or interrelation?
Actually, the idea of Francis is the one who are in the West. This means that he belongs the West people, and he has the idea in the West. This one. Then in the West. But actually, the idea of Pope Francis talking about individualism, it is not only in the view of Catholic view, but this idea is more in a general. It's not only in the idea of the people in the West talk about that one. It's for all. The idea, actually, that idea is can be explained or can be understood. Or can be said by the people in the West also. The people in the West also have also the same idea, the same explanation about individualism. Actually, the idea that Pope Francis mentioned here it's not about more about the Catholics, just is in the common view. This is why, and the idea of the Confucius also is at least for all, it's not only for the East people or the Eastern people, it is for all the human. That's why somehow we almost the same point. We can connect all of them together. It's not for the West or East. It's not separate. They are together. That's why we need to understand the bigger view. Yes.
Alright, yes, you're saying that the problem of individualism is a problem of Western and Eastern or every part, right? However, the path that you are, your way of solving it is very particular, confusion notion of them. Do you think everyone can ascribe to that kind of to that kind of a principle? You have to understand that Confucianism is kind of a way of living of people. China, Vietnam, somehow it reached in sa other Asian countries, right? But it's very specific. That's where I'm coming from, no? Kasi the idea of benevolence, the idea of rain as your consciousness of other, that could be called intersubjectivity, right? But why did we choose a very strict notion, a very strict principle to counter a very general kind of problem?
Actually, there's many idea of philosophers that can be used to solve the problem. It's not that. But there's no idea is perfect to solve that problem. So in the idea of Confucius also, even though it's difficult to solve all the problem in the idea of one person, such as Confucius. But in this paper, research just want to look into for something different, because the idea of something is usually when we give the problem in the Western way, in the idea of the Western, and we usually to look for one philosopher who has the idea also in the same area, the same foundation, the same perspective. But in this paper, researchers just want to go out from the box, want to looking for something different.
Just want to what? To give a different perspective?
Yes.
Okay, sige. With that comes my second question. This is my second question now. Where is the woman? Or how could the woman break out of individualism using the notion of women, which is somehow kind of, the Confucian principle, the Confucian, your idea of the yi, the 5 gradations, it's very constricting to women. It's very constricting to women. And if we will just follow the Confucian notion of men, can the woman also reach the level of the Junzi? Kasi yung discuss Junzi, the gentleman, it's very male specific. I know that's the way of thinking of that of people before, no? But at present, at our present time, we have to be inclusive. So my question is, where does the woman gets her place, or can the woman break out of this problem of individualism, or is she just getting stuck lang? Will she get stuck lang in the idea of I have to be just a subordinate to men, or is she capable also of becoming what your truancy is?
Actually, for the idea of Confucius, in that time, the man is the one who walk outside, the one who do more things outside, and the woman is the one who walk, who do something inside the house. And because of that situation, the people they feel that because I walk outside or do something, it's like I am more powerful than the one who just walk in the house. Actually, because of that idea, people may push down the value of the women. But I believe that Confucius may do not say about that one. He just want to say that the woman or the man, they need to respect each other. So we need to love each other, and no one is. This means that the man cannot destroy the woman or put the woman down. But the man needs to respect the woman, not because actually in the family it needs to have the people who something in the house and have some people who walk outside. If in that situation during the time of Confucius, the woman who walk out and who is the one who walk in the house. But in the modern time, the situation is different because in the modern time the woman is sometimes the man they are not like the man before. They are more less. They are not motion or they mean their capacity is not than the man before. So that's why. It depends on the situation only. If in a situation the man meet one neighbor, one if in a family meet one person who walk inside and one person who walk outside. And because the woman cannot do something outside, the man will want to take. But in the case, you understand that the man can do outside, and the woman can do outside, and the man also can do inside. So that's why it depends on the situation. It means to say that Confucius, he doesn't want to put down the value of the woman, not because of the idea of us, we need to understand. That's why we think that the value of the woman is always down.
This is something that you don't have to answer this question now, but something you have to think about. Don't you think this idea of the five relations of you look at the circumstance of the woman with the five relations and the confusion notion of woman talaga. Look deeper into it and ask yourself, don't these situations push people to pursue individualism? Because they have been restricted by society and whatnot. So there is this uncalmed or uncalming voice in women's head na parang, I have to break out of this system. That's why I have to focus on myself. That's something that you just have to ponder. You don't really have to answer it because I think it's necessary now. It's necessary now for us to really look into the situations of women because as much as possible, they are being still look as if different. No? So I have that's my problem with Confucianism or the Confucian dogma. Parang it leaves the women behind. Especially the way you wrote your thesis, no? It's kind of very male-centric. So it's good siguro if you can change also your if you can make your thesis more gender sensitive in some sense. Okay? So, yeah. Instead of using man, you can use human beings, human persons. So, that's something. A little step to create a more gender sensitive thesis. Okay? So, thank you, Mr. Du. And the um, comments and technicals are already here in the manuscript. I will just send it to your advisor, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Nicole Eugenio, for your comments and observations. For my part, I will not repeat what Ma'am Paula has just said. Well, I would like to underscore also the observation that I have regarding your work. So I affirm that it's just a matter of exposition. It has been observed by Ma'am Paula, and I would like to affirm that. Exposition means you are just exposing Confucius thoughts on randomly seen and so on, without directly involving your thoughts in explaining these things and so on. So uh, I have a problem with your work. Well, I congratulate you also because you mix two different concepts again, like individualism and secularism. And I'm going to ask you which influences which, or what is rooted in what. I mean, where is actual individualism coming from? Is it in secularism, or it is through secularism that individualism is amplified, and so on?
Actually, in this paper, researcher said the individualism is rooted from secularism. That's why I
Page
say
50, yes, in page 50, you mentioned that.
yeah.
However, you did not give any explanation why it is rooted in secularism. That's what I want to know.
Actually, because the local bodies, the local of secularism is it is more about myself, myself, and actually the secularism is relates more about God, about the religious. So that's why we see the perspective of religions. You can see that the people they want to deny it. They don't want God anymore. They want to, yeah.
So it means the absence of God will lead the individual to its own. No? It is libre as woman in French. It means remove God and we are all left to ourselves. Okay, so, well, I accept that. However, I will find contradiction in your work in the sense that then present to me the things you use here, Confucius' notion of that, then present to me the transcendental dimension of Confucius. Ren, you didn't even mention God, and now you are responding to secularism.
Actually, that's what I said in the paper that in the documentation. I said that
Okay, what page? Wherein you discuss the notion of God in Confucius in your thesis.
no, actually in the paper researcher said that in this paper researcher is secularism and individualism, but the researcher just want to focus more on individualism. So that's why the researcher just want to use the idea of Confucius which relate to individualism, not related to the secularism. So that's why the researcher do not mention about God or about something else. Confucius relate to the secularism. That's why because
So it means then I suggest that that's my suggestion. Why include secularism, wherein Confucius is not actually talking about God. We can solve actually individualism without, putting God as a question. Because ultimately, Confucianism is secularism. And do you agree? If you are going to analyze Confucianism, it is secularism.
actually we might understand that Confucius he doesn't refuse God or something. But actually he also believe in something because that's how it relates to the virtue of we, that is the rights. He also focus on that one, and the rights it has to explanation.
So now my question is, how can Confucius, which you discussed, respond to secularism, which is about God, the denial of the absence of God, wherein he does not actually talk about God?
Actually, because I just want to limit the secularism in the.
Yes, but that is a contradiction, as what I have told you. So this is my suggestion: remove the issue on secularism because it's not involved here. You could have directly tackled individualism and Confucius, being a secular humanist, can respond to individualism without, putting in the notion of secularism.
Actually, I just want to put the secularism is a Taoism. To be
We wouldn't believe God because remove God, then we become individual, or only in putting God that we go out to this individualistic thing. But we do not need God to go out of this individualistic thing. Now, is secularism not about concern? It's not about others, yes or no? When you speak of secularism, do you remove others in the equation, concern for others in the equation?
means about secularism.
Yes, does secularism rule out concern for others?
Yes, because actually the secularism is not only
No, does it rule out the concern for others? Do you, when I have a secular culture, or if I am a secular society, I have no concern for others?
actually the secularism is also concerned for the people as well.
Okay, correct. So it means you can solve individualism through secularism. You do not need to consider them as a problem. And to give you an example, perhaps secularistic society, in some sense, respond to the problem of individualism in the sense that they show more concern to other people. Look at secular societies now. They have good social services. They have good housing. There is no poverty compared to religious or societies governed by religion. And Confucianism is enough to solve this problem. That's the question. Well, you preach sometimes religion, Well, that's why the notion of secular society is let us set aside religion, bracket religion. Let's go directly to our concern. We can somehow solve it. Okay, so I hope you have realized that. And then I think the second question that I would like to tell you is that, this, you cited abortion thing as when you remove God, abortion, euthanasia will become, well, it's the reason why we do not, because we don't believe in God, we do not believe in religion. Well, if that would be the position of the Pope, but philosophically, it is still questionable because you do not need to believe in God for you to value life. Because being human, or in a secular society, we value life also. Like Donald Trump, look, he banned abortion, we wanted to ban abortion, and he is not coming from a religious perspective. He is not, he is in a secular society. Or it could be a political position to ban abortion, to ban euthanasia. Of course, in politics there must be power. It's so happy that it's not popular among the people. Because secularism, let's talk about ourselves, about what we can do, what is rational. Well, majority of people find out that, well, abortion is not so rational or it is irrational, something like that. But it depends. It's a political decision. So I think so. That's all I can. Since we do not have time, also, that's the greatest observation I could give to your work. Since your advisor is not here, so we cannot also ask him about work. Okay, so may I invite everyone to please leave the place as we evaluate the work of the researcher Tang Hong.